They swore up and down they were keeping it simple this year. That's the phrase they used, like this summer would be budget-friendly, modest. But then my card got slammed with a charge for a luxury villa in Cancun. 14 guests. A private chef. Group excursions. Every single detail planned down to the welcome drinks. I didn't yell. I didn't call. I didn't even let my hands shake on the keyboard. I just sat there, staring at the numbers on the screen, and one by one, I clicked, dispute, dispute, dispute. Then I locked the travel account, flagged the card, and shut everything down. 15 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from my dad, "Our boarding passes aren't working. We're stuck at security. What's happening?" I smirked, typed back, "Maybe try tightening the guest list." And then I turned my phone face down. But to really get why I did this, you need to understand the kind of people my family are. And the kind of fool I've been. A month earlier, I'd landed a promotion at work. Not CEO money, but enough that it came with a fatter paycheck and a shiny new title. I kept it quiet, at least until my cousin Rebecca's birthday party. My uncle asked how things were going, and I let it slip. By the time dessert hit the table, the whole family knew. And when they know, they always have plans for your money. My mom pulled me aside, all smiles and soft hands on my shoulder. "We're so proud of you. You've really made it," she said. My dad, on the other hand, slapped me on the back like I'd just scored a touchdown. "So," he asked, grinning, "ready to step up and contribute a little more?" I shut that down quick. Told them I wasn't coming on the big family vacation this year. I needed time for myself. Maybe travel solo. My mom's smile didn't even flicker. "That's okay," she said. "We'll be saving money this year anyway." That sentence, those exact words, stuck in my head like a bad echo. We'll be saving money. I should have known. Turns out what she meant was their money, not mine. 3 days later, my card was hit for over $4,000. 7 nights at a beachfront villa. And it didn't stop there. Another charge, catering, excursions, a snorkeling trip. I pulled up the itinerary and my stomach dropped. The whole plan was laid out in front of me. Dates. Reservations. Names. 14 of them. Not one of those names was mine. That's when it hit me. At Rebecca's party, I'd left my wallet on the counter while I helped clean up. They didn't steal my card. No. They memorized the numbers. Maybe snapped a picture. Then, when the timing felt right, they went on a shopping spree, gambling that I wouldn't notice until it was too late. They gambled wrong. I scorched the earth. Disputed every charge. Locked the account. Changed my passwords. Even called the villa directly and explained there'd been fraud. And here's the thing, they didn't just cancel. They were eager to help. Which meant that when my family strolled up to that airport counter in their straw hats and overpriced sunglasses, they weren't just turned away. They were humiliated. Because at the exact moment they were supposed to be boarding, the system flagged them. Tickets gone. Reservations void. Security pulling them aside while the other passengers stared. That's when my phone lit up with my dad's panicked text. "Our boarding passes are rejected." My reply? Simple. Cold. Maybe try shortening the guest list. Then I powered my phone down, climbed into bed, and slept deeper than I had in months. Because for once, they didn't win. The next morning, I rolled over in bed to find my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. 15 missed calls, all from the same number. My father's lawyer. I didn't answer right away. I didn't need to. I already knew what this was about. See, 3 years earlier, my dad had handed me his old car when he upgraded. Not because he wanted to do something kind for me, but because trading it in wasn't worth much and he figured I could use it. At the time, I thought it was, maybe a small gesture. Turns out, it was a trap waiting to be sprung. When I finally picked up, the lawyer got straight to it. No small talk, no pleasantries. Your father is demanding the return of the vehicle. He considers it a loan, and there's been a breakdown of trust, a lack of family reciprocity. I could almost hear my dad's voice bleeding through every line, like he was sitting in the lawyer's office feeding him word for word. I took a breath, then said evenly, "Fine. He can have it. I'll leave the keys on the porch. Because I'm done. No more guilt trips, no more games. I'm finished pretending." That night, I drove over. Parked the car at the curb. Locked it up. Dropped the keys in the mailbox. Didn't knock, didn't wait, didn't explain. Just walked away into the night. If they thought this was some kind of victory, let them. I didn't care anymore. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a text from my sister, Courtney. "Seriously? You're giving away the car just to be dramatic? Grow up." I stared at the screen and laughed out loud. Grow up? This was coming from someone whose name was plastered across that stolen vacation itinerary, right between Rebecca Doubleroom and Uncle Jeff Oceanview. She knew exactly what they were doing. And honestly, I almost respected it. It was bold. Brazen. But it was also sloppy. They'd assumed I'd stay passive. That I'd swallow the hit just to keep the peace. What they didn't expect was that I'd finally had enough. And sure enough, the cracks started showing. 2 weeks after the vacation that wasn't, my buddy from a local credit union gave me a quiet call. "Hey, just a heads up. Your dad was in here trying to take out a personal loan. Got denied. His credit dipped under 600. 3 days later, I noticed my cousin Rebecca's Instagram, usually a constant stream of filters and humble brags, had gone silent. I checked her Facebook, and there it was, her engagement was postponed. And if you know Rebecca, postponed means done. Then came my Aunt Melissa. She was one of the loudest voices during the whole "Thomas is selfish" rant after the airport fiasco. But she'd been living rent-free in one of my grandfather's old duplexes. Guess what? She got slapped with an eviction notice. Turns out, my dad had quietly used that property as collateral for a loan 2 years ago, and never bothered telling her. Now she was crashing on Courtney's couch, whining about betrayal. It was all unraveling, piece by piece. And I hadn't lifted a finger. Karma was doing the warm-up act. But me? I wasn't done. Not even close. Because while they were busy scrambling, I was already setting up the real play. If they wanted to treat me like the outsider, then fine, I'd show them what being truly cut off feels like. And it all started with that car. The one they dragged out a lawyer to take back. The one they thought they'd won. That car was uninsured. And it was about to cost them far more than they ever bargained for. A week after I dumped that car back in their driveway, I thought I was free of it. Done. Clean break. But then, one morning, I opened my inbox and froze. An email from the DMV. At first, it looked routine, generic header, standard formatting. But the second I clicked it open, I knew. A violation notice. 30 miles over the speed limit. In a residential zone. Automatic camera capture. My pulse spiked as I scrolled. The photo was grainy, but there was no mistaking him. My dad. Behind the wheel. Same gray hoodie he's worn for the last decade. His face dead center in the frame like some mugshot. And guess who the notice was addressed to? Me. Because of course, they'd never bothered to change the title. Registration still sat in my name. I checked the date, 3 days after I dropped the car off. Then it clicked, I'd canceled the insurance that very same night. At the time, it felt like closure. Now, it felt like leverage. I filed a statement of non-ownership with the DMV. Sent the lawyer's email, the texts, the timeline. I even attached Courtney's smug Facebook message mocking me for being dramatic about giving up the car. Within 48 hours, the ticket was reassigned. And because no proof of insurance was on file, the DMV slapped a flag on the license plate. Effective immediately, that car was marked for impound. And I hadn't even lifted a finger. But things were only beginning to unravel. 3 nights later, my mom finally broke her silence, not with a call, not even a private message, but with a comment under a beach photo I'd posted. Just a simple picture of the ocean. She wrote, "I hope you're enjoying yourself while your family's falling apart." It was supposed to sting. It was supposed to guilt me into crawling back. But when I read it, I felt nothing. Just a hollow kind of satisfaction. Then my dad made his move. And he didn't call either. No, he went behind my back. A friend of mine from work, Josh, texted me a screenshot. Someone had messaged him on LinkedIn, pretending to be a recruiter. They were asking about me, poking around with clumsy grammar and a laughably fake email handle. It didn't take Sherlock Holmes to figure it out, it was him. My dad. Trying to poison the well. Subtle. Desperate. But Josh? He's sharp. He played along, then CC'd me in a reply that ended with, "This kind of behavior is exactly why I never mix family with business." That's when I stopped waiting for karma. That's when I decided it was my turn. See, I've been keeping a list. Not just of the betrayals, they're too easy to remember, but of leverage. Little scraps of information my family tossed my way over the years, thinking I'd never use them. But near the top of that list? Uncle Jeff. 3 years ago, Jeff called me in a panic. His wife had run off with some guy she met online, draining their joint account on her way out. He had a DUI pending, a maxed-out credit card, and a gambling debt he'd been hiding from everyone. He begged me for $2,000 to cover rent. Swore up and down he'd pay me back in 3 months. He never did. What he didn't know was I kept everything. The Venmo receipts. The texts where he promised repayment by June. Even the email where he slipped and admitted the money wasn't for rent at all, it was to square things with someone named Lenny before Lenny showed up at his job. Curiosity got the better of me. I found Lenny. Owns a shady pawn shop 2 towns over. Still operating. But I didn't call Lenny. I didn't call Jeff. Instead, I picked up the phone, dialed an anonymous tip line, and left a message for Jeff's HR department. Suggested they run another background check. Maybe look into a DUI that slipped through. Maybe confirm the address on his application. By the end of the week, Uncle Jeff was on administrative leave. That night, my mom posted a cryptic Bible verse on Facebook, "Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, that will he also reap." For once in my life, I agreed with her. And I was just getting started. Courtney was the next crack in the wall. She'd been strutting around like she owned the world ever since she convinced our dad to co-sign her lease last year. Downtown high-rise. Infinity pool. That glass and steel skyline view influencers love to post at sunset. But here's the truth, she couldn't afford it. Not on her boutique salon shifts and half-baked influencer gigs where sponsorship meant free coffee in exchange for tagging a cafe. I knew she was skating by. I also knew Dad had used his already strained credit to push her application through, even while juggling his own failing ventures. So, I dug a little deeper. And there it was, a civil filing. 3 months back rent. The management company had filed against both Courtney and our dad. A matter of time before it hit the courts. That's when I remembered something. 2 years earlier, my credit took a hit because Courtney missed a payment on a phone plan I co-signed back in college. I had the receipts. Screenshots. Emails. Proof. So I made a call. Not to Courtney. Not to the building. To the collections agency that had hounded me over her mess years ago. I left an anonymous tip. Courtney might be hiding income streams through cash apps, under-the-table influencer gifts, little digital sponsorships. I attached her own screenshots, her bragging posts about free money from brands. All public. All verifiable. 1 week later, it landed. Courtney was served live, literally mid-Instagram Q&A, lip gloss in hand, ring light shining. A man off camera handed her a fat manila envelope. The screen record made the rounds within hours. She didn't finish the live. The very next day, my dad texted me. Not an apology. Not even a question. Just 3 words. This is war. I didn't answer. But I did make a different call. To a local reporter I knew, someone who owed me a favor from years back when I'd tipped her off about a tax fraud case. I handed her a new lead, local small business grants misused during the pandemic. Names worth checking. Guess who popped up? My father's so-called consulting firm. He'd pocketed a $12,000 relief check meant to digitally expand his business. No website. No online presence. No taxes filed. Nothing. 2 days later, the article dropped. Short. Sharp. Brutal. His name front and center. It didn't accuse him outright, but it didn't have to. The comments did the heavy lifting. And then, silence. The call stopped. The lawyer went quiet. No more texts trying to guilt me, no more half-hearted sermons about family. For 6 whole days, nothing. But I knew them. That wasn't surrender. That was regrouping. They were licking their wounds, plotting their next angle. Then something unexpected arrived. A letter. Real paper. No return address. But the handwriting, I knew it instantly. Inside, just one sentence. I'm sorry. I'm not like them. No signature, but I didn't need one. It was Leah, my cousin. The quiet one. The only one who never joined the mob when they circled someone. I thought about reaching out. I didn't. Not yet. Because 3 hours after that letter, my dad's lawyer resurfaced. Same cold voice. But this time? Different message. Thomas, we've received notice of an inheritance transfer pending your signature. It seems your grandfather left you the duplex. My grandfather had died a year earlier. Everyone assumed the property would pass to Aunt Melissa. She'd been living there rent-free for years, like it was hers by default. But she never checked the updated will. I had. 6 months before he passed, Grandpa quietly signed it over to me. Because I was the only one who showed up at his hospital bed without asking for anything. I called the lawyer back, confirmed it, signed the papers. 2 days later, I posted a listing, 2-bedroom duplex. Newly inherited. Available for rental. Priority given to quiet tenants. Melissa found out the next morning. Courtney sent me a screeching voice note, accusing me of making their mother homeless. I didn't bother replying. Melissa had never paid a cent of rent. She trashed that duplex, painted over the hardwood, let garbage pile up in the yard like it was her private dump. Now, she was being held accountable. And this time, there was nothing they could do to stop it. The biggest twist came out of nowhere. 3 days after I listed the duplex, an email landed in my inbox from a guy named Brian Keller. Said he was interested in renting. I googled him, just like I do with anyone. And that's when my stomach flipped. He wasn't a renter. He was a CPA, ex-IRS, who now freelanced as a tax investigator. He didn't want the duplex. He wanted a meeting. We sat down at a highway diner, the kind with sticky menus and burnt coffee that somehow tastes better because it's burnt. He slid a thick folder across the table, and what came out of his mouth knocked the air out of me. He'd been investigating my father. Turns out, after that article dropped about his business grants, someone had flagged his consulting firm. Brian dug in. Found fake 1099s, phantom employees, cooked books. But then he leaned in, lowered his voice, and asked me, "Do you know anything about a trust fund tied to your name that was emptied in 2019? I didn't. Brian opened the folder. Paperwork. Signatures. Transaction logs. All of it real. My grandfather had left me a trust when I turned 18. Nothing massive, about 25 grand. Supposed to sit untouched until I turned 25. But in 2019, it was drained. Quietly closed with forged paperwork. My father's fingerprints all over it. And in that moment, every memory of struggle burned hotter. While I was skipping meals, working graveyard shifts, scraping by, there had been money. A safety net I never knew existed because he stole it out from under me. He didn't just take $25,000. He stole years. I left the diner in silence, the folder heavy on the passenger seat like a live weapon. No music. No podcasts. Just the hum of tires and the sound of my own breathing. Every few minutes, I glanced at the folder, half expecting it to combust. Back home, I didn't even turn on the lights. Sat in the dark, phone in one hand, folder in the other. My inbox pinged, 3 new messages from people who wanted to rent the duplex. Real tenants, real money. And for the first time in weeks, I hesitated. Not because I doubted myself, but because the weight of it all finally pressed down. This wasn't petty anymore. This wasn't about a car or a cancelled vacation. This was war. And the stakes had just changed. I pulled the deed papers from my drawer and filed the final ownership transfer myself. No delays. No lawyers dragging their feet. The duplex was mine, fully and legally. But I wasn't going to rent it. I had other plans. I dug out a whiteboard calendar from an old work project, wiped it clean, and started connecting dots. Names. Dates. Secrets. My dad. Courtney. Melissa. Uncle Jeff. Debts. Scandals. The notes from Brian's folder. The board filled fast, and when I stepped back, one name was circled in red. Leah. My cousin. The only one who'd broken ranks with that handwritten letter. I hadn't replied. But now I wondered, was she guilty, or was she warning me? At 1:13 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No words, just an image. The duplex. Taken at night from inside a car. Porch light glowing faintly. For rent sign still out front. My chest tightened. Then came a second message. Another image. This time, a screenshot of a bank withdrawal. 5 figures. Same account digits Brian had shown me from the trust fund. May 2019. Someone was watching. Someone who knew more than they should. And they wanted me to know it. I called the number, straight to voicemail. No ID. No trail. Just silence. I didn't sleep that night. Not a second. Because now, it wasn't just me digging into the past. Someone else was in this, and whoever they weren't done. What unraveled after that photo changed everything. But for now, that's all I can put down. It's been 4 months since that last message, the photo of the duplex, the screenshot of the 2019 bank transfer. I never figured out who sent it. The number went dead a week later, like it had never existed. I even asked a friend in IT security to try and trace it. Nothing. Burner phone, no history, no trail. But by then, it didn't matter. Because everything else had already started collapsing on its own. About a week after that night, Brian emailed me again. No long explanation. No pep talk. Just a single attachment, the final draft of his report. At the top, stamped, complete. At the bottom, his signature. In between, page after page of findings. Tax fraud. Wire fraud. Identity theft. Forged documentation. All of it tied directly to my father. His message was one line: "You won't need to press charges. They're already moving." 3 days later, my dad's business website went dark. His number disconnected. And the lawyer who once filled my voicemail with demands? He quit. Turns out my father hadn't paid him in months. Courtney was next. She got evicted. Word is she's back at my parents' place, which, by mid-May, had a foreclosure sign staked into the yard. Melissa sent me one message. No threats this time. No screaming. Just quiet words. I didn't know it would go this far. I left it unanswered. And Uncle Jeff? Gone from his job. Official reason, policy violation. But I didn't need a press release to connect the dots. The duplex is still mine. I never rented it. Instead, I scrubbed it clean, painted every wall, changed the locks. It sits empty now, except for the porch where I sometimes sit at dusk. The street goes still. Leaves rustle in the breeze. And in that silence, I've learned something: peace has a sound. As for the trust fund? Brian says the IRS will pursue repayment. Maybe I'll never see the full 25 grand. Maybe I will. But it doesn't matter anymore. Because this was never about money in the end. It was about everything they took: time, trust, and peace. I didn't destroy them. I just stopped covering for them. And they destroyed themselves. And Leah? She wrote again. This time with her name signed at the bottom. She told me she'd left the family group chat, cut off contact, started therapy. She said watching it all unravel forced her to face how deep the rot went. Her last line stuck with me: "You were the only one who walked away and didn't come back." I'm trying to do that now, too. I haven't answered her yet. But I will. Because for the first time in a long time, I'm not angry anymore. I'm not plotting. I'm not replaying the past in my head like a broken record. It's over.